All right, so in this section, we're going to be taking care of the fix. So the fix is during your flight, you see that you are on a specific radial from a VORTAC, and you're figuring out exactly where you are based upon that. So you've already done your to, from, and then your takeoff information. So the fix in this problem is you're going to be on the 42nd degree radial from Lufkin VORTAC, which then it gives you the location. So that's going to be right here. So again, just like the airfields, you're going to be doing it directly from the center. So the only thing that you need to be wary of at this point is this is going to be in magnetic. So you need to convert it to true in order for you to be able to use it right here. So using this, you're just going to switch these around and switch this around, right? So in this instance, you're going to be adding, so to go from magnetic to true, you're going to be adding an easterly variation. So you're going to be adding. So based upon this, you get your fix. You have your VORTAC here. Then you're going to take your dividers and mark right there. So you're going to be putting it right on the VORTAC. And then you're going to line up the center with either the outer or the inner, depending on which, whether you're using a vertical or a horizontal line. And so make sure it's straight up and down. So for this instance, we're going to be using this right here. So it says that we're on the 42nd radial. So like we said, we need to add the 2. So it's going to be 44. So we're going to be lining up the center right here with 44 on the outer scale right here. That's going to be right about here. So what I like to do is I like to just draw a line from the VORTAC all the way through. And then after that, then I'll go back and I'll see the exact distance. So went ahead and did that. And then this is going to be the point that we are actually on. So I go ahead and it says that we are 27.5 from the VORTAC. So your DME is 27.5. So we go ahead, line that up with the center, go right along here, and mark where that's going to be on your sectional. So then from there, you can go ahead and figure out a few things. So you're going to be figuring out the distance that you've traveled. You were given the time, the current time. So you have the distance and the time. So draw a line from Panola to your fix, and then I just like to go ahead and just take the fix directly to the final location. So you measure, make sure you're on the sectional scale, not the whack. So you go ahead and measure that. And that's going to be right at 41 nautical miles. So we're going to go ahead and keep up on this. So we're going to be putting the Lufkin VORTAC. Don't worry about the channel. I don't even know why it's there. Then we're going to be going ahead, and this is the track, because the track is the actual path that you traveled. The distance is going to be 41, and the time, you can actually cross this out too. So the time is going to be 23, 27, 24. So this one, you don't really need to worry too much about it because it's very basic. So the time between this and this was 27 minutes and 24 seconds. So based upon this chart right here, or this, this chart. You can go ahead and say, okay, 24 is equivalent to 4. So it's going to be 27.4 minutes has elapsed, or 27 minutes plus 24 seconds. All right. So we've got that. So now we've got the distance that we traveled, the time that's elapsed. So now we can go ahead and figure out how much fuel we've actually consumed for this leg. Like we talked about, fuel consumed is going to be fuel flow over the rate index and fuel consumed over minutes, right? So in this instance, it's going to be fuel flow. The fuel flow is going to be 95, which is going to be right there. And then we're going to be looking for the time that's elapsed, which is going to be equivalent to the 27.4. So the 27.4 is going to be on the inside. That's the time elapsed in minutes. So 27.4. So I'm going to go ahead and find 27.4 on the inside. So 25, 26, 27. And then 0.4 is going to be right about here. And if you look right here, using that red line, it's going to be 40, 41, 42, 43 and a half. So that's going to be 43.5 pounds for this leg. So you're going to go ahead, for the leg fuel, it's going to be 43.5 pounds. So then you're just going to subtract. So 315 minus the 43, and then the final total is going to be 271.5. So 271.5, this is going to go right down here. All right. So at this point, you need to have your actual wins. So let's go ahead and reference the worksheet right here. So using the calculator, you're going to input the track and the distance. So the track we determined, if you just go ahead and you take this, line that up, bring this down. All right, then we're going to be looking on this inside scale right here because we're using a horizontal line. Line up this center part right here, and then find where that line intersects out here, and that's going to be at 184. So our track was 184. All right, so now we're going to figure out our ground speed. So the ground speed is going to be up next. You're going to go ahead and take a look at this. So speed over rate index and distance over time. So the distance we figured out was 41 nautical miles, and the time was 27.4 minutes. So we're going to do 41 on the outside. So find 41. 41 is right about there. And then 27.4 on the inside. So 25, 26, 27.4. And then go ahead and move this entire piece until it lines up with 41 right there. And then you find your rate index. Rate index is right here. And that's going to be your actual ground speed. That's the ground speed that you actually flew. So go ahead and you can go ahead and put 90 right there. All right, so now we're going to figure out the drift angle, right? So the drift angle is going to be the difference between your true heading and your track. So the true heading originally was going to be 173. So the difference between 173 and the actual track, which was 184, is going to be 11. So it's just simple math. 184 minus 173 is 11. So that means that your drift angle is going to be 11. All right, so now you're going to determine your crosswind. Because you have your ground speed, your drift angle. With all this, you can get your crosswind and your headwind. All right, so you're going to line up 75, which is your true airspeed, with the true airspeed marker, right? And then after that, you're going to go ahead and rotate until you get to 11 degrees for your drift angle. Go on the outside, it's going to be right about 14. So that means that your crosswind was 14. Okay, so now we can go ahead and figure out our headwind and tailwind component, and then our true heading. So the true heading, that's just going to be the 184 minus the drift angle of 11. So 184 minus 11 is going to be 173. And then for here, we're actually going faster than our true airspeed. So that means that we have a tailwind. So we have a tailwind. The difference between 90 and 75 is 15. All right, so now what we can do is go ahead and figure out our leg fuel. So for our leg fuel, this is going to be the fuel flow over the rate index, and then fuel consumed over the minutes. So again, the minutes was 27.4. So we can go ahead and we're going to find 41 for the distance. Just going to be right there. And then 27.4. So 25, 26, 27.4. Line that up with 41. Nope, that doesn't make sense. All right, so we're going to have the 271.5 here, and then 43.5 here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to the whiz wheel for this last portion for the in-flight. So we're going to line up our track. So we figured out that our track was 184. Go ahead and follow along with this step right here. So 184 right there. All right, so 184. And then draw a line at the 15 on the bottom. So we had a tailwind of 15. And then we had our crosswind was 14 from the left. So we have 14 right about here. And line that up. Make that nice X right there. And then you rotate that around. So this is where I differ from the book. It says that it's going to be 52 at 22 knots. But for me, I got right around 48 at 22 knots. So I'm not sure if this is a discrepancy in the notes itself. But either way, this should get you close enough that you can go ahead and find the correct answer out of the options that are given to you on the test. So I'm going to put, for my in-flight winds, I'm going to put 48 at 22 knots. And that's going to be my in-flight winds. And I'm going to be using that going forward. And the reason why I'm using mine instead is because those numbers seem like they actually correspond to the final numbers that you'll see here. So I'm not sure if maybe there was just an error just because when they were making these problems, but that it does happen sometimes. So last but not least, we're gonna do our, basically just redo this portion, but here with the new information, the new in-flight winds, and then the new course that we need to follow to go from our fix to our final location.